Planned Parenthood's latest annual report shows a continued increase in the number of abortions performed, as well as a rise in the amount of government funding that it receives. In the last fiscal year, Planned Parenthood affiliates performed 345,672 abortions. That's an increase of 3% from the previous year. The organization reported receiving $616.8 million in government funding from federal, state, and local health grants, contracts, and Medicaid reimbursements. That is up more than 8% from what it received from the previous fiscal year. Joining me now to take a closer look at the report is Margaret Olohan. She is social issues reporter at the Daily Caller News Foundation. Margaret, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's start with your reaction to the uptick in the number of abortions performed by Planned Parenthood.
Well, like you said, there's over 345,000 abortions performed by Planned Parenthood in this year, the last fiscal year, that's about a 3% increase from the last fiscal year, which is pretty shocking. That's over 12,000 more babies aborted in the last fiscal year.
And the number of abortions performed is greater than those of the well care and breast care. Cancer screenings have also decreased. What do you think that says about the group's narrative that it's a healthcare provider?
Well, I think they kind of abandoned their narrative this summer when they fired former Planned Parenthood president Leanna Wen. Wen was really focused on healthcare at Planned Parenthood, and she went along with a lot of the initiatives that they were interested in, specifically abortion activism. But they ended up firing her because she was too interested in healthcare. And she has said herself that this is why. She also emphasized that this was because she was not interested in trans-inclusive language and things like that. So I think you can tell from Wen's departure that Planned Parenthood is much more focused on abortion activism. They're also been donating thousands of dollars to political campaigns. And so they're kind of slowly departing from this attitude of Planned Parenthood as the nation's greatest healthcare provider to Planned Parenthood is the abortion machine of the United States of America.
Yeah, and taking a look at the group's finances, are you at all surprised to see such an increase in government funding, and what do you think that message sends to taxpayers?
Well, what's really interesting is over the summer, President Donald Trump took steps to fulfill a campaign promise. He declared that effective immediately, taxpayer funds could no longer go to abortion clinics that were providing abortions in the buildings or were providing abortion referrals. And this is a huge step towards defunding Planned Parenthood. So it'll be really interesting to see how that impacts the next Planned Parenthood fiscal report and just how many abortions they perform and how much taxpayer-funded dollars are going to these services.
And what else do you think is important for our viewers to know about what's going on right now?
Well, I think it's really interesting. We're heading into another year. This is an election year. If you look back at 2019, there was so much pro-life legislation that pro-life lawmakers and activists helped get on the table. A lot of this legislation was blocked by the ACLU and by Planned Parenthood, but it's still out there, and this gives pro-lifers a lot of hope. There's so much to be done. There's so much being accomplished. And I've spoken with a lot of pro-life leaders who are telling me they're not ready to sit back. They're getting ready for another year, and they're really excited to push more pro-life legislation in 2020.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Margaret Olohan. She is the social issues reporter at the Daily Caller News Foundation. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.